So welcome back everyone, Mike here. This evening we are going to go meet the greatest pumpkin grower within at least a half mile of here. My nephew Christian.
Hi everyone.
So today we went and picked up this quad. Christian just bought this. This is a Yamaha Kodiak, is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Christian has been growing a big pumpkin here, and today we're going to take a look at it and kind of go over, you know, a lot. I was impressed, everything you're telling me. You've done your homework.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, a lot of YouTube.
A lot of YouTube.
Ironically, yeah.
Well, let's go take a look at it. All right, so here we have my nephew Christian on the left, and you know, son Levi on the right. But this is Christian's garden right here. And how long have you been growing pumpkins?
This is the second year.
Second year.
Yeah.
Now, how big is this one right here in front of us?
I'd say maybe 80 pounds. It's about as big as the first one I ever grew.
Okay, and this isn't the big one you've got?
No, absolutely not.
The other one's way bigger than this one.
Yeah.
But what got you started? Like, what made you want to do this?
I'm really impulsive, and I was reading about giant pumpkins one day last year and ordered seeds on the spot from Nova Scotia.
From Nova Scotia?
Yeah, that's where you got it. Well, you have to give them a certain species of pumpkin. It's a Dill's Giant Atlantic pumpkin. It's created by Howard Dill out of Nova Scotia.
Okay.
So you have to order seeds of that species, which doesn't have to be from Nova Scotia, but you get those seeds sent in the mail, and that's what's going to grow a massive pumpkin. They have a much longer lifespan.
Yeah. Because a lot can go wrong with them throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
huh?
so much.
Like what? Like disease and...
Like, well, these two I only kept to show you aborted pumpkins. I think that one, if you ever see these little black and yellow striped cucumber beetles in your garden, they carry something called bacterial wilt, and all it takes is for them to bite the plant, and then your plant has it for good.
Really?
There's nothing you can do. It's that easy. And like, you can cover them in 7 spray and all kinds of pesticides, and the second you let up, they're going to be right back on it, and all it takes is one bite and the plant's done. I think that's what happened to that one. This one, I think it may have been a fungal infection, because it really didn't make it long at all. But there are just a million things that'll take it out.
Yeah, you have definitely, when we were talking earlier today when we went to get your four-wheeler, I could tell you have done your homework when it comes to pumpkin growing.
Wasted a lot of time, probably. I could have been studying for the NCLEX or something.
Yeah, Christian, though, that's great. A lot of good things have come from impulsive people, though.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good things and bad things.
Yeah.
You know?
But you don't see that many young people with a garden, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a great hobby, and you're doing really well at it and stuff. So how much do you think that pumpkin right there weighs?
I'd say about 80 pounds.
And how much do you think your big one weighs right now?
Over 300.
Over 300?
Yeah.
We'll take a look at that in a minute. But does everybody that, you know, enters the big pumpkin competitions, do they buy the same seeds?
Yeah, it's all going to come back to that original line of pumpkin, the Dill's Giant Atlantic. Okay. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the potential to grow that big.
What is the world record? Do you have any idea?
It's over 2,000 pounds.
Really?
It's something like 20, maybe 2,500 around there.
Wow.
It's absurd. I don't understand it.
And you kept to keep the big ones covered, right?
Yeah, so...
We'll get over to that one in a minute, but why do you keep them covered?
The sun makes the skin mature, so that's why when you see the bigger one, it's really lighter colored right now because the sun isn't on it. So the sun will make it turn orange quicker and harden the skin, and then whenever it grows, if the skin's too hard, it'll just explode basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at the big boy.
Yeah.
All right, so you got this all covered up. I guess you can use anything, right? Tarps, or does it have to be...
No, yeah, anything, as long as it's not going to come apart, and poke a bunch of holes all through it because the water will weigh it down, and you don't want water sitting, or anything wet sitting on the pumpkin, so it could rot it. But yeah, just old bed sheets, and I'll cut strips like on a table saw of wood, and I'll use that to steer the vines. I'll get into that later. Right. And then also you can hang the bed sheets on it.
One uncover?
Yes.
Is it a boy or girl pumpkin?
Well, all of the actual pumpkins are females, the ones that grow bulbs. I could show you one over there later. But so certain bulbs will start growing, and there will be a flower on the end of the bulb, and then aside from that, there are going to be actual flowers, just flowers without the bulbs growing, and those are the males.
Okay.
So if you go to self-pollinate, you have to cut the male flower off and open it up and get the stamen out of it, and then rub that inside the female flower, that with the bulb on it, and then you cover the flower up with like just some kind of cloth, you know, so because you don't want other bees getting in there to mess up the genes of your pumpkin.
Right.
And then about 12 hours later, you'll see the pumpkin start to expand a little bit.
How much does this one grow each day, do you think?
They say a max of about 25 to 40 pounds in August. That's the biggest growing month, yeah.
So this thing's really putting on the weight now.
It's like it's growing in front of your eyes. It's like you can watch it almost. It changes every single night.
All right, let's see what it looks like. Holy smokes.
Can't step on any of the vines either. Yeah.
What do you have underneath it there?
So that's sand. Last year I used straw because, and the point to sand or straw is to keep all the moisture off the pumpkins. That dries out really quick. But sand, I started reading in the off season, is better than straw because as it grows, it'll easily let the pumpkin move freely. And it doesn't retain water as much as straw.
That's got to be every bit of 300 right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I measured that a couple days ago, and it came. There's a measurement you can do to estimate it. You get the circumference of it, and then you do one end at the ground to the other end at the ground, and then the opposite way too. But that doesn't account for lumps, and I mean, this is kind of an ugly blob, so it doesn't. It's not that accurate.
Yeah.
But if anything, it'd be more than that.
So how much longer will it grow here in Pennsylvania? I mean, it's August now.
Yeah, September they start to slow down. Once it gets down around 50 degrees, it's gonna significantly decrease, like not grow that much. But into a couple weeks into September, it'll be growing.
So this thing, you may end up with an 800,000 pound pumpkin before it's all said and done.
I don't think so, not this year, next year.
No.
I know exactly what I did wrong.
Did you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What'd you do wrong?
A lot of stuff. Well, initially, whenever I made the soil to plant the pumpkins, and you start out with like a pitcher's mound, kind of, and you plant it, and it has to be really rich soil, a lot of organic material. I think I put too much compost and manure in it, so that means too much nitrogen, and if you have too much nitrogen in the plant, it'll burn the leaves. So whenever I start growing them, they get this like blown up look. It looks like they're kind of waterlogged almost, the leaves, and then they get like a brownish tinge to them, and it means they're getting burned. So then I had to lay off of everything to let it catch up and kind of neutralize and put other stuff in it.
So you lost a little growing time there.
Yeah, I wasn't fertilizing it that whole time.
Right.
Another thing, I used like grain fertilizer, whereas I think I'm going to use water-soluble fertilizer or just liquid, because then it gets to the plant instantly.
Okay.
Otherwise, it takes a couple weeks to see the growth from the fertilizers. And then also, I honestly got tired of watering the plants under the leaves. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because if you get the leaves wet, that really increases the chance of fungus and especially powdery mildew. So I just kind of said screw it at a certain point and started watering just, you know, all over. And it'd be nice to have a drip line. I don't know how expensive that is. I don't know if I'll actually do it, but that's what they recommend.
Yeah, that would
just under the leaves. And
maybe next year. But for year 2 of doing this, you're doing really well.
Oh, thanks. Anyone who's actually been doing, I mean, these people get so into it. The people who grow like the 1,000 pounds, huh?
And you're not.
Oh no. I mean, they have it set up in a little house. It's like a makeshift greenhouse. They call it a hoop house. They get like PVC pipe and bend it over with some plastic to protect it from the cold in the beginning. They have drip lines set up with the exact water-soluble fertilizers released evenly. They have everything to a T, and they've been doing it for a decade. It's ridiculous.
Curious. I'm sure that people in the comments will let us know if anyone else is doing this, if there's any other pumpkin growers out there that watch these.
Yeah,
kind of curious if anyone.
I'm finding more people are into it than I thought.
Yeah.
My mom works in medicine, and some of the surgeons she works with,
yeah,
top surgeons are into.
Yeah, you're
growing
kind of
pumpkins.
giving them tips and stuff, aren't
Yeah,
Calling
yeah,
each night.
brain surgeons coming to me for help. it's ridiculous.
You might have said already. How big did your pumpkin get last year?
It was about 100 pounds maybe, and I thought, I mean, I grew that in town, so it pretty much dominated my yard.
Yeah.
Because they get to be easily, I mean, 400 square feet, you know, minimum. So it completely took over the yard, and people would stop and
Tell
look.
us about the vines. So
Yeah, right. So whenever you start out planting it, you get 2 leaves initially, and they're rounded leaves. And then the third leaf that comes is going to be jagged, and that leaf will sit opposite of the direction the vine will grow. So that's how you know you can direct it.
okay.
So whenever you plant it, you transplant it, you have to start it inside, because especially in PA, you know, you have to start it in April and it's too cold. So I had a little, like a grow house that I got from a friend to try this year. And whenever you transplant it, you put that true leaf, the jagged one, opposite of the direction you want the vine to grow. So then that main vine will take off, and you can take just any kind of sticks and you direct it the way you want to go. And you let that vine get to be about 12 feet long, 10 to 15 feet long. And then there are going to be side vines that shoot out from the main vine, and you let them all get to be about 10 to 12 feet long. And eventually there are going to be tertiary vines that shoot out from the side vines, and you cut all them off. It just wastes the energy, and they don't do anything for the
So
plant.
it's not allowing all the nutrients to get back to the pumpkin,
Right.
those other ones.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And then another thing about that, whenever you start, you'll see those female flowers popping up, like I said, with the bulbs. They'll be all over. The plant will be covered in flowers and bulbs and everything.
Yeah.
You pollinate maybe 2 or 3 per plant, and then you let them get to be about the size of a volleyball. And that's because they'll abort really easily before then, just for no reason. If it gets over 90, the fertilization is done,
Right.
the pollination. So you keep a couple pumpkins on one plant until it gets to that size, and then you cut it off, so everything is going into that one pumpkin.
This one looks great right now. It doesn't look like...
No, and I just put new fertilizer in it a couple days ago that's water soluble, and I don't know if my measurements were accurate, so it might explode soon. We're gonna find out real soon.
Hope it doesn't happen now.
Yeah, right. These little tears, that's it growing really quick. That's normal, just because this kind of pumpkin grows so fast, those pop up all over it. So that's normal. If it were a little bit worse, it will completely explode.
Yeah. You
And that-
have definitely done your homework on this. I learned more about pumpkins in the last 10 minutes than I have my entire life.
Yeah.
This is a great video, though,
do you
for
think?
someone that wants to get into this. They're gonna, because you spend hours and hours researching.
And I learned it all from probably this one video. I don't know if I should suggest that.
Yeah, let me know. I can put it in the description.
Okay, well, because this guy made it like an hour-and-a-half long video. This Jamie Johnson, I think his name is. It's how to grow a 1,000+ pound pumpkin, and he gets into every single possible thing. It's like an hour-and-a-half long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, about the NPK stuff, your fertilizers, that's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So in the beginning, whenever you're first growing those vines, you want to promote a lot of leaf and vine growth, and that's why you need more nitrogen. So you put something like blood meal in it, and just basically dried up cattle blood, and that's really high nitrogen. And then once it's time for more flowering, you put higher phosphorus in, because you'll see that combination, you know, on the packaging, NPK.
Yeah.
And then once the pumpkin starts growing, you want to go higher in potassium for the actual fruit growth. And yeah, you just get a higher potassium supplement.
Now, will this one start getting, like, when do these start getting like the ribs like the other ones do?
The thing about these, the Dill's Giant Atlantic, I heard they can, I guess in the genetic makeup, it's possible to have like white pumpkins sometimes, and I think sometimes not even as ribbed.
Yeah, so just smooth like a...
Yeah, and if you look at some of the giant ones, they do really just look like big blobs.
Yeah.
Are you going to need me to move it with the tractor when you're done?
Probably, I've been thinking about that. I didn't expect it to get this big, honestly.
I'm waiting for these vines to show up at my house.
That's what my mom said. She thinks she's going to wake up and there are going to be vines taking over her bed someday. Because you can go like 10 or 20 feet away from the end of a vine, and if you dig into the ground, you'll see little root hairs crawling. I mean, they just go out and out and out much further than you can see.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. They just take over everything.
What's like the daily, like, what does a day look like with this? Like, what do you have to do for this every day?
So most of it, I'd say the bulk of the work in the season, whenever the vines are growing, everywhere a secondary vine comes out, you'll see a little white dot pretty much at the V, and that's a potential root. So they call it vine burying. And you just put like a mound of soil over it, and that'll encourage a new root to pop out. There's one on the top and the bottom at every single secondary vine, and there are like 20 or so secondary vines.
Yeah.
And as the secondary vines grow, more will show up at the base of all the leaves.
Okay.
So every day there's pretty much going to be a new potential root you can make.
Right.
And I think I needed to do more of that this year, because the more roots you have, the more water and nutrients it's sucking up. So they call that vine burying. And then while you're doing that, you want to steer the vines so they have enough room to grow the leaves without bumping into each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's an interesting hobby, though. It is. I mean, you got to learn a lot. You got to put a lot of care into it. It's like anything else.
Yeah.
It's like everything else. You got to put in the effort if you're going to do something good. You know what I mean?
Right. It's kind of.
It's not just going to happen. You just don't plant a pumpkin seed and grow a 1,000-pound pumpkin.
Yeah, definitely not. I did a lot for this one. I can't even imagine the people who grow 1,000, 2,000-pound.
And you got some soil, special soil for it as well, didn't you?
Yeah. My neighbor from when I lived in Elwood City, my neighbor had this really good soil from California. They call it Golden Triangle or something. It's some of the
where
best.
they grow the devil's lettuce.
That's right. Yeah, it's some of the best soil in the world, and he gets that shipped over here, and he gave me tons of it for free. So I actually transported that from my Elwood house in my Jeep. I filled up a bunch of garbage cans full of dirt and transported it about 35 minutes in the back of my Jeep just to keep that soil here and to not pay for it.
Yeah.
Next year I might till it. I don't know. That just means more weeding, but yeah.
Well, we will definitely have to report back on this. Everyone's going to want to know how this thing ends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It could explode tomorrow, or it could grow another month. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. If it's not big enough for the competition, which it probably won't be, it'd have to be at least, I don't know what they're like around here, but maybe 800 pounds or so. I'm probably just going to carve a boat out of it and sail down the Connie. Nobody knows what the Connie is. Okay.
Well, that is awesome, Christian. If you can, we'll do a follow-up video. So anything else, once we see this one, anything you might have missed, we'll add in the next one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, you have done your homework. You put the work in, and I'm impressed. I am.
Thanks.
I didn't know you were this knowledgeable on it.
On anything. Just kidding. No, I think Dad, you're saying about how, like, you put the work in and the time. Yeah, that's what I think from the outside. If you didn't know that, like, I've seen big pumpkins.
Yeah, right.
I mean, every once come across a picture. No idea what went into it.
Yeah,
it's
right.
To find out that you put in time every day.
I never would have imagined when I was getting into it, but then I guess I was in too deep and didn't want to, half-ass it.
Right.
Sorry.
When I started with maple syrup, it was pretty similar. Like, started years ago, like right before, kind of right when you're supposed to tap. So I just went and tapped trees, and then before you know it, I have like a ton of sap, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want this to go bad, and we already told people, so I'm like, oh, they're asking about this.
Yeah.
Can't mess this up,
Yeah. The first year I did it, I started probably about a month late.
Yeah.
Because I was literally just sitting there and found it online, and it was already into the growing season, and I ordered.
So you had you just stumbled upon the whole pumpkin thing?
Yeah.
And you went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, because I always have a garden, but I was looking up different stuff to grow, and I saw something about a giant pumpkin, and I was all in.
It's big. We were coming down here, and we were riding in the side-by-side, and I saw the first one that you saw. Leprechaun one, and I thought that was it because we could see it from a distance. I'm like, yeah, it's big. No, it's
Get down beside that once if you can, Christian.
Yeah.
Give him a. Yeah, that is a massive pumpkin.
Yeah, you always need somebody to be by it to take a picture, because otherwise you don't really, you know, you have to put to scale.
You need to put tie by that. I mean,
yeah. Oh, we could put tie in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room.
I almost didn't keep this one. That was going to be the best one, the first perfectly round one. And I was counting on that, and then I just decided to keep this one.
And so that's why you poured all your efforts into this one then?
Eventually. I was trying to do it evenly, but those two aborted, and then, yeah, I went all in on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the seeds from Nova Scotia that I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. Well, we appreciate the time, Christian. It was very educational. It was.
I hope so.
This is going to help a lot of people that are into this. And for those that aren't going to do it, it's still pretty darn interesting. You know what I mean? Pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Thanks.
Now, you have to make sure you don't spend all your spare time riding a four-wheeler, and you still get to send this one to the finish line here.
Right, yeah. Well, the four-wheeler is going to help, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. Well, I appreciate it, Christian. Anything you want to add, Levi, before we wrap this up?
No, I think so.
All right. So, like I always say, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like button, click subscribe, and share them with your friends. Thanks.